Tampa Bay Buccaneers are picking at number 19 overall. So, what will they do with their first three picks in the 2025 NFL Draft? My name's Tyler, here with my brother Ryan, and we're going to break down the Tampa Bay Buccaneers three-round mock draft for the 2025 NFL Draft. But before we get into that, if you like the content that Ryan and I put out and you want to help the channel grow, the easiest way is hitting that subscribe button, tackling that bell to get notified when new videos come out. And while you're at it, leave a like and a comment. Let us know what you think of the picks and what other potential players you would like for them to draft in this year's draft. With that being said, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers picked Jahdae Barron with the 19th overall pick in our three-round mock draft. Ryan and I made a full three-round mock draft, all 100 or so picks. And so you can see the couple picks before and after, and then also the potential options that players are still available, but farther down the board that they could have gone after. And so a lot of different routes I think the Buccaneers can go on this with their first overall pick. I think it's going to be primarily anything defensive. Honestly, I look at the offense. The offense looks pretty set. They've done a
Yeah.
great job, I think, with the offensive line. Graham Barton had a really solid rookie year, and I think he's only going to get better. Tristan Wirfs is probably the best left tackle in the league. Obviously, you got really good receivers and skill position players on that side of the ball as well. Love the debate between against Buccaneers fans and myself on whether Chris Godwin will come back in to Tampa Bay. I hope he does. I like him as a player. Well, I say as a Falcons fan, I hope he doesn't. But as an analysis, I hope he does. I think he works really well within the Tampa Bay Buccaneers system. Also, really like just kind of him as a person and everything that he's kind of persevered throughout his career. And so, but I think that's still going to be up for debate until the new season opens up. So, with that being said, I think it's just going to be defensive best player available. Best player available. I think Mike Green is another potential option, but Jahdae Barron, cornerback out of Texas, is I think going to be a solid pickup here, and I think maybe could help out a lot with the secondary as well. He maybe even could be a guy that could maybe transition to safety. I know that's maybe an area that he also could
Mhm.
work in. As he's just I think could move around a lot in this deep
Yeah.
Buccaneer secondary.
Yeah, he was a guy. So I guess 3 seasons ago now, since this college football season is over, he played safety. Then 2 seasons ago, he kicked in to play like slot corner, and then this past season, he actually made the transition and was playing outside corner. So he's played at three different positions on a defense, and so he's a very versatile guy. And I really think he would do a good job just kind of filling in where needed here in Tampa Bay. Like there are other options. If Mike Green is on the board, I do think that they would prefer him over Jahdae Barron just with the traits that he brings to the table. And then you can go a different route later in the draft. But all in all, I think this is a really solid pick for them. I also think they could go Malachi Starks. They have Antoine Winfield Jr. there. Malachi Starks is another guy that's played kind of all over that back end of that Georgia defense. And I think he would be a good complement to Antoine Winfield. They have Mike Edwards there as well, as long as a few other safeties. But over the past few seasons, I think some of those other guys have been in and out of the lineup with injuries there. If they don't like any of these options on the board, or if Jahdae Barron's gone and Mike Green is gone, I think Prince Uman is another one that would be interesting at edge rusher. He's more of that explosive outside linebacker guy. And then another guy that I feel like isn't getting as much love because he tore his ACL in August of last season is Siobhan Ravel Jr. from Eastern Carolina. Really big, athletic guy who moves really well for his size, that I think would be an interesting pick here at corner. But yeah, I think defense is definitely going to be where they target. Edge rusher, corner, I think going to be very important picks for this team in this draft.
Yeah, and this for me, when kind of looking at this with the Buccaneers with this pick, I think it's going to be an edge rusher that they like, or one of the top secondary guys. This isn't the deepest secondary class. I mean, you have
Mhm.
Travis Hunter; he gets taken second overall in our mock, but then Jahdae Barron's the next secondary guy to get
No,
taken off
there's
the
Will
board.
Johnson in between.
Oh, you're right, correct. Sorry. So
Yeah.
you have those two guys, and then you kind of have everybody else. Those two guys are probably going to be Travis Hunter is going to be a top three pick more than likely. Will Johnson's
Yeah.
probably going to be a top five, top 10 at the worst. So um, I think Tampa Bay Buccaneers are going to get the next of the rest of the other guys, or there's an edge rusher that they really like that kind of fits their scheme. I can see them going that route. I do believe if Mike Green is there, I think Mike Green could be a very real guy that they go
Mhm.
after. We ended up not doing that here in this situation, but honestly, next mock draft, it's very possible if Mike Green's at 19. I think him and Jahdae would be a very interesting combination just with the amount of speed that they have getting around the tackle. So it's going to be interesting. Let's move on now to the second round pick. Go Jihaad Campbell, linebacker from Alabama, addressing now the middle tier of that defense. Ryan, Jihaad Campbell, he's a guy I don't really know where, and actually I think he might be the first linebacker to come off the board as well in our
Yeah,
3-round mock
probably.
draft. Not the deepest linebacking class as well. So I want to throw it over to you. What are some things you like about Jihaad Campbell when it comes to what he can add to this defense?
Yeah, so he's about 6'3", 250, versatile guy who could, I think, come down to the edge in true pass rush situations, which I think would be a good compliment there, but for whoever's on the field. But also, too, he is just a very smart, high IQ player. He has no problem coming downhill and filling gaps. And when you have a big defensive lineman like Vita Vea in the middle, you do have sometimes some bigger gaps there, like the A and B gap, and having a linebacker like Jihaad Campbell can be nice to have coming downhill and meeting running backs at the line of scrimmage. I think that would be a really good fit. He's pretty good in coverage. He is at his best around the line of scrimmage, but I think he's a true 3-down linebacker who has some edge rushing potential as well, or just blitzing from a linebacker position. I think would be really interesting with a player of his skill set there. So I think that would be really interesting. 2 picks kind of addressing the front 7 in this mock draft so far, and I think the Tampa Bay Buccaneers would get a lot better on the defensive side of the ball with these 2 players.
Yeah, and especially too with Levante David and KJ Britt also being free
Mhm.
agents as well. Their status with the team and their future with the team is up in the air.
Mhm.
Especially with Levante David, I think is 35. Yeah, 35. So they
Yeah.
maybe could re-sign KJ Britt and
I
with Tampa
misspoke,
Bay.
actually. Jahdae Barron is in the secondary, but two defensive players
Yeah, that's
getting a
fair.
lot better.
Good catch. And so it's going to be interesting with the Buccaneers with their cap space overall. They're, as of right now, the recording of this, according to Over the Cap, they're about $2 million under the cap. So very little flexibility, but I'm sure they can create space just like how all teams have. And so a couple other guys here I think would be very interesting. If they wanted to actually address the secondary, this would be a good spot to do it here with this pick if they end up going defensive line in the first round. But Darian Porter, he had a really good Senior Bowl. Zy Alexander, cornerback out of LSU, and then Lathan Ransom, safety as well. I think these will all be very interesting guys. I think that the Buccaneers can go and attack Darian Porter, particularly for me, because he's a guy, Ryan, that you've talked about. He's very athletic, and I think this would be a
Yeah.
good guy to bring on to this defense.
Yeah, he, I believe, was actually a wide receiver recruit, but then switched over. He's played a couple seasons at corner now at Iowa State, and you can really just see his athleticism and natural ability kind of come through. And he does need some refinement there, but for a guy that's only been playing corner for a couple seasons, I think it's really interesting to see just how much progress he's made and how good he is.
Yeah.
And so I think if you could go and get a guy like that in the second round, especially if you pass on a Jahdae Barron in the first round, I think that would be a really interesting kind of I say developmental with air quotes, because he could come in and probably give you some good snaps right away. But especially on the outside, I think that would be really intriguing to see what you could do, what Todd Bowles could do with a guy like that. So
Yeah. Yeah.
let's move on now to their third and final pick. And in this mock draft, this is where we have them addressing the other position in the front 7. That's going to be Donovan Ezeiruaku. He's a little bit more of a true like pass rush specialist, but a guy who had a good Senior Bowl. But since he is like that true pass rush specialist, he's going to be knocked down on a few guys' boards just because he's only 6'2", 247, and he has really long arms for his size. I believe he had like an 84-inch wingspan with like 34-inch arms or something, which is just insane for a guy that's 6'2". But I think he could develop into a 3-down player at the NFL level. I think it's just going to be hard for him at the start, just with the physicality of the NFL. It's harder for guys sub 250 to really hang on the edge. And so I think if he can get his weight up, he has the discipline and the length to hold up on early downs. And he did that. He did so at college at a pretty high level, but at the NFL, it's just a different beast. But a guy, he rushes with a plan. He does a really good job kind of setting up tackles at times. He has a good spin move. He can beat guys with speed around the edge. So a really kind of polished pass rusher, but really only a pass rusher at this point in his career.
Yeah. Well, and you see they've had success though. The Buccaneers with drafting edge rushers in day 2. I'm
Yeah.
pretty sure Yaya Diaby was a day 2 guy
He was, yeah.
if I'm not mistaken. So I could see some similar crossover traits as well. I think Diaby's a little bit bigger, but still at the end of the day, though, Ezeiruaku's had a great college career with the intangibles that you talked about. So
Mhm.
it's maybe something that they could help that could help him, just keep on developing. So once again, similar with the second round pick, if they were wanting to go secondary, Maxwell Harrison, Sebastian Castro. I think would be two guys that would provide really good value. Potentially, honestly, could be day one starters if they're able to go in there. I think both guys have a lot of positive traits. Harold Fannin Jr. Was taken at number 93 by the Saints. I think that would be very interesting as well to put him probably one of the better pass catching tight ends, if not the best pass catching tight ends, if we're going by stats alone in 2024. And put him with Baker Mayfield, put him in there with Mike Evans, potentially Chris Godwin, and Jalen McMillan as well. Just another really nice receiving threat for Baker Mayfield. And this offense throw too. Sorry, I was about to say their offensive coordinator's name, Liam Cohn, but that is not a very popular name right now in the Buccaneers circle. So I think they need to still find a new offensive coordinator. So, but I'm not entirely sure as of right now. But
Yeah.
A lot of different routes I think the Buccaneers can go. I think that they're going to be pretty defensive heavy overall, as I think that was kind of one of the bigger issues for their team. I mean, they had one of the best offenses in the league last year, one of the top rushing teams, one of the top passing teams as well. They maybe will have a little bit more of a priority on receiver, just with Mike Evans getting older and with Chris Godwin coming back from the injury. If they re-sign him, of course, obviously, but I think receiver could be a sneaky option where they'll go up a little bit sooner. That's why, like, even bringing up Harold Fannin in there, I think would be a good option in round 3. But we'll have to kind of wait and see. So, but Ryan, I want to throw it back over to you. Just final thoughts on the Buccaneers 3-round
Yeah.
mock.
I agree. It should be, I think, mostly defensive heavy. If they fall in love with one of these receivers, I think that would be interesting. If they don't re-sign Chris Godwin, I also think this could be like an Emeka Egbuka landing spot, who I think could play a similar role at this level here in the first round. But luckily for the Buccaneers, this is a really deep edge rushing class. Corners, I have mixed feelings about. A lot of guys are talented, but could be banged up at times, like Maxwell Harrison, Siobhan Ravel.
Yeah.
Trying to think of some others off the top of my Will Johnson was another guy that was banged up and missed the whole season. So it'll be interesting to kind of see what happens there. But I definitely think that there will be some good value and definitely some risers, I think, in that group as well. So they should get pretty good value with all three of these picks. And with these picks, I mean, they address a lot of team needs. So I think they set themselves up well going forward.
And Josh Grizzard, as of the recording of this video, February 2nd, looks like he actually got promoted yesterday, February
Okay.
1st, to new offensive coordinator,
And
promoted from within.
okay, and we're technically recording this on February 2nd. It is currently 12:30 at night. So
Oh, yep, you're right. So it's February 1st. So
yeah.
maybe it was actually January 31st.
Oh, okay. But all in all, I think that this was a really good draft for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Let's go ahead. Let's wrap it up here. If you guys have not already, please go ahead and like and subscribe. That is the best way to help out the channel. While you're down there, leave a comment on what you thought of this Buccaneers 3-round mock draft. Did you love it? Did you hate it? What would you have done differently? And other than that, we will see you guys next time.